The first word Noah Hayes gave me was not hello. It was stay. I did not know that when a black sport utility vehicle carried me through the iron gates of the Hayes estate, past security cameras and bare oak trees glazed with February ice. At that moment, all I knew was that 3 specialists had already failed, a 7-year-old boy had not spoken in 11 months, and his father had offered my community clinic enough money to remain open for another year. I was a speech-language pathologist with additional training in childhood trauma, but the driver had spoken to me as though I were being summoned to perform a miracle. Snow swept across the windshield in white ribbons as we followed a curved road toward a mansion that looked less like a home than a courthouse built for one powerful family. Newspapers called Roman Hayes a private investor. People in Boston used a different name when they believed no one was listening. Every window glowed except one on the second floor. Behind that dark pane stood a small boy in gray pajamas. He did not wave when the vehicle stopped. He did not step back when I looked up at him. He simply pressed one palm against the glass, his face pale in the winter light, as though an invisible wall separated him from the rest of the world. Then a curtain shifted, and he disappeared. The front door opened before I reached it. A man in a charcoal suit greeted me, took my coat, and led me across a marble foyer where the quiet felt expensive. There was no television. No laughter. Not even the ordinary creak of a family moving through its own house. Only a grandfather clock marking every second as though time itself had been ordered to behave. Roman Hayes waited in a library at the end of the hall. I recognized him from newspaper photographs, although those pictures had failed to capture the strange gravity around him. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and perfectly still, wearing a black shirt with the sleeves buttoned at his wrists. Men like him were usually described with loud words. Dangerous. Ruthless. Feared. Roman did not need any of them. The room changed when he looked at me. "Ms. Miller," he said. His voice was quiet, controlled, and accustomed to being obeyed. "Grace is fine." His expression did not move. On the desk between us sat a file nearly 3 inches thick. Medical evaluations. Therapy notes. Hearing tests. Neurological reports. Lists of treatments that had been considered and rejected. He opened it as though presenting evidence in court. "My son's hearing is normal. His speech development was advanced before this began. There is no physical reason he cannot talk." "When did he stop?" 11 months ago. "What happened 11 months ago?" Roman's gaze lowered to the file. "His mother died." The clock ticked behind me. "Once. Twice. And since then?" I asked. "He speaks to no one. Not to me. Not to his teachers. Not to the doctors who come here and tell me to be patient." Something tightened in his jaw when he said that word. Patient. As though patience were another person who had failed him. He pushed the file toward me. "Everything you need is there." I placed my hand on the cover, then closed it. Roman's eyes sharpened. "You are not going to read it?" "Later." The previous specialists spent hours reviewing those reports. "And did Noah speak to them?" Silence answered for him. I leaned back in the chair. "You have told me everything they believe is wrong with him. Tell me what happened before he stopped speaking." Roman looked toward the dark window. For the first time, I saw something beneath the control. Not anger. Fear, buried so deeply that he had mistaken it for discipline. "He was in the house the night his mother died," he said. "Did he witness what happened?" "No." The answer came too quickly. I did not challenge it. "Not yet." "I want to meet him alone." "No, then I cannot help him." His attention returned to me with enough force to make the air feel colder. Most people probably stepped back when Roman Hayes looked at them that way. I thought of the small hand pressed against the glass upstairs. "Your son has spent almost a year surrounded by adults watching him, measuring him, and waiting for him to perform," I said. "I will not become another one. You do not understand the security concerns in this house. And you do not understand that trust cannot grow while 5 people stand outside a door listening for results. The clock counted 3 more seconds. Roman turned toward the man beside the fireplace, someone I had not noticed until he moved. "Clear the hallway," Roman said. That was all. Within a minute, the upstairs corridor was empty. Noah's bedroom was larger than my entire apartment, but nothing inside it looked touched. Wooden trays lined a shelf in perfect order. Books stood according to height. A model airplane hung above the bed without a single mark on its painted wings. Noah sat in a window seat with his knees drawn to his chest, staring at the snow. He looked smaller up close. Dark hair fell across his forehead. Blue eyes remained fixed on something far beyond the glass. I did not say his name. I did not ask him to look at me. I sat on the rug about 6 feet away and opened my canvas bag. From it I took 2 squares of blue paper. I folded the first slowly, making every movement easy to follow. One corner to another. A sharp crease beneath my thumbnail. Then another. The paper became wings, a narrow neck, and a small bird balanced in my palm. I placed it on the rug between us. Noah did not move, so I began a second one. Outside, snow brushed against the window. Inside, the grandfather clock sounded faintly through the walls. 5 minutes passed. Then 7. My legs began to ache, but I stayed still. After 9 minutes, I heard fabric shift. Noah lowered one foot to the floor. He watched my hands. I folded another wing. He lowered his second foot. I did not smile. Adults often celebrate too quickly when a frightened child takes one step, turning courage into another performance. I simply set the unfinished bird beside the first. Noah slid from the window seat. He crossed half the room, stopped, and looked toward the door. His entire body tightened. "It is only us," I said softly. "You do not have to do anything." He came closer, one careful step at a time. Then he sat across from me and picked up the unfinished crane. His fingers found the fold I had left open. I demonstrated it once. He copied me. The crease was uneven, but the bird held together. We sat there with 2 blue cranes between us while the snow erased the garden outside. I did not ask about his mother. I did not ask why he had stopped talking. I asked nothing at all. When the session ended, I stood and placed my crane near the window. Noah held his against his chest. "I will come back Thursday," I said. His eyes lifted to mine for the first time. There was no emptiness in them. There was too much feeling, trapped behind a door no adult had known how to open. I walked toward the hallway. My hand had almost reached the knob when small fingers caught the sleeve of my sweater. I stopped. Noah stared at the floor. His grip tightened. Then, in a voice so faint I almost mistook it for the wind against the glass, he said, "Stay." My breath caught, but I did not turn too quickly. I did not praise him or call for his father. I only lowered myself until we were at eye level. "I heard you," I whispered. Noah looked past my shoulder. Roman stood in the open doorway, one hand frozen against the frame. The most powerful man in the city had heard his son speak, and for the first time that night, he looked like a man who had no idea what to do next. Roman did not move from the doorway. For several seconds neither of us did. Noah still held my sleeve, his small fingers curled into the fabric as though one word had taken every ounce of strength he possessed. I kept my face calm, although my heartbeat had climbed into my throat. Children notice celebration when it arrives too quickly. They notice pressure hiding inside praise. I did not tell him how brave he was. I did not ask him to say it again. I only nodded and said, "I can stay for 10 more minutes." Noah released a breath and guided me back toward the rug. Roman took one step into the room. Noah's shoulders tightened immediately. The blue paper crane bent beneath his fingers. Roman saw it. Pain crossed his face so briefly that I might have missed it if I had not spent years watching people hide emotions from children. "I will wait outside," he said. Noah did not look at him, but the tension in his body eased after the door closed. We spent the remaining minutes folding paper. Noah said. Nothing else. He did not need to. His first word was not a door swinging open. It was only the sound of a lock turning. When I stepped into the hallway, Roman was standing near the window with both hands in his pockets. Two men waited farther down the corridor, careful not to appear as though they had been listening. Roman dismissed them with one glance. "What did he say before I arrived?" he asked. "Nothing. He spoke only once?" "Yes." "Why to you?" His question sounded less like suspicion than disbelief. "Because I was not waiting for him to speak." Roman looked through the open doorway. Noah had returned to the window seat with the crane resting on his knee. "Every specialist told me consistency was important." "Consistency is important. So is emotional safety. This house is safe. Physically, perhaps." His eyes returned to mine. The air changed, but I refused to fill the silence for him. "What are you suggesting?" he asked. "I am suggesting that Noah listens to everything around him. Every conversation. Every closed door. Every adult who lowers a voice when he enters the room. He may not be speaking, but he is still learning what words cost in this house." Roman's expression hardened. "You have known my son for less than an hour. And in less than an hour, he asked me to stay. That means he may have something he needs someone to hear." Roman glanced at the file beneath my arm. "You will tell me if he says anything important. I will share what he is ready for you to know. If I believe he is in danger, I will tell you immediately. I am his father. Then you should want him to have one place where he is not afraid of being overheard." His jaw tightened, but he did not argue. Thursday afternoon, I returned to find two blue paper cranes on the windowsill. Noah sat at a low table with a box of colored pencils arranged in a straight line. I placed my bag on the floor and sat across from him. "I brought more paper," I said. His gaze moved toward the bag. I took out red, yellow, green, and white squares. Noah reached for the red one, then pulled his hand back. His breathing changed. Small. Shallow. I moved the paper aside without comment and opened a sketchbook instead. I drew a house with 3 windows and a crooked chimney. Noah watched, then took a black pencil and added a door. He pressed so hard that the tip snapped. The sound made him flinch. "It is all right," I said. "Pencils break." He stared at the dark rectangle he had drawn. Then he whispered, "Red." I followed his gaze without guessing. "Show me red." His finger moved above the doorway, outlining the shape of a person. I placed the red pencil near his hand. Noah drew a long shape from the figure's shoulders to its feet. A dress or a coat? I could not tell. "Someone wore red," I said, reflecting what he had shown me rather than turning it into a question. He nodded once. His gaze jumped toward the bedroom door. I closed the sketchbook. "We can stop." Relief softened his face. I reached for a white sheet of paper and folded it into a small boat. Noah watched for a moment before whispering, "Cold." One word. Then another. "Door." I did not ask what was behind it. I placed the paper boat beside his drawing and said, "You are here now." Over the next 3 weeks, Roman waited for me in the library after nearly every session. He always asked the same question. "Did he speak?" At first, I answered, "A little." Later, when he asked what Noah had said, I explained that the words were fragments Noah was still learning how to organize. Roman's patience thinned. "Grace, I need to know what is happening with my son. Then spend time with him without asking for a report." Roman looked almost offended. "I do spend time with him. You sit across from him and ask questions. That is not the same thing." During the next session, Roman entered the room after 20 minutes. He did not wear a jacket. He did not bring the file. He sat on the floor near the wall, far enough away that Noah still had space. For 10 minutes, no one spoke. Roman's discomfort filled the room more loudly than conversation. Then Noah pushed a yellow square of paper toward him. Roman stared at it. "What do I do?" he asked me. "Follow him." Noah made the first fold. Roman copied it badly. The corners did not meet. The wings came out uneven. Noah looked at the crooked bird and made the smallest sound, almost a breath of laughter. Roman froze. I saw his hand tighten around the paper, not from anger, but from the effort of containing hope. After that, he attended each session for 5 minutes. Then 10. He stopped asking Noah to speak. He began waiting. One night, shortly after 9, my telephone rang. Roman's voice was controlled, but I heard a child crying without words behind him. "He will not let anyone near him," Roman said. "I am on my way." Snow had turned to freezing rain by the time I reached the estate. I found Noah beneath his desk, trembling, both hands pressed over his ears. Roman knelt several feet away, helpless in a way I had never seen him. I sat on the carpet and began humming the lullaby my mother had sung when storms rattled our apartment windows. The melody was simple, slow, familiar enough to feel older than memory. Noah lowered one hand, then the other. He crawled from beneath the desk and rested his head against my shoulder. I kept humming until his breathing steadied. When I looked up, Roman had gone completely pale. "Where did you learn that song?" he asked. "My mother taught it to me." His eyes moved toward Noah. "Elena sang it to him every night." His voice broke around her name. Noah tightened his fingers around my sweater. Then he whispered so softly that only I could hear him. "Mommy knew your mother." For 1 second, I thought I had misunderstood him. Noah's face remained pressed against my shoulder, his breathing finally steady after the nightmare. "What did you say?" I asked gently. He did not repeat it. His eyes moved toward Roman, then toward the open bedroom door. The fear returned so quickly that I felt it before I saw it. Roman stepped closer, but I lifted one hand. He stopped. That mattered. 3 weeks earlier, he would have crossed the room because he believed being a father gave him the right to every answer. Now he waited because he was beginning to understand that Noah's silence was not defiance. It was protection. "We do not have to talk about it tonight," I told Noah. "You are safe. I will be here tomorrow." His fingers loosened. Roman remained near the doorway until Noah fell asleep, curled beneath a navy blanket with one blue paper crane beside his pillow. Downstairs, the house returned to its unnatural quiet. Roman led me into the library and closed the door behind us. "Your mother knew Elena," he said. It was not a question. "I did not know that. Noah seems to remember her. He is 7 years old, exhausted, and trying to organize memories that frighten him. We cannot decide what he means before he is ready to explain it." Roman walked to a cabinet and removed a leather photograph album. His movements were precise, but his hands were not as steady as usual. He opened it on the desk between us. The first pages showed formal family photographs, charity events, birthdays, and holidays arranged like proof that happiness had once lived in the house. Then Roman stopped at a photograph taken in a private medical suite 13 months earlier. Elena sat in a chair beside a hospital bed after recovering from pneumonia. 6-year-old Noah leaned against her knee. Behind them stood a woman in pale blue scrubs, adjusting the edge of Elena's blanket. My breath caught. The woman was my mother. "Margaret Miller," Roman said. "She was Elena's private nurse during the final year of her life." I touched the corner of the photograph. My mother had died 8 months earlier after a brief illness, 3 months after Elena's death. She had told me stories about difficult patients, overnight shifts, and families who needed more kindness than medicine. She had never mentioned the Hayes family. Confidentiality had always mattered to her, but this felt like more than professional silence. "Why would she hide this from me?" I whispered. "Perhaps she was protecting you." The answer came too easily from him, as though protection explained every secret. "Or perhaps someone made her afraid." Roman's gaze hardened. "My wife trusted your mother. Then why did Margaret leave?" "She resigned 3 weeks before Elena died." The clock behind us sounded midnight. I looked again at the photograph. Elena wore a small silver necklace shaped like a bird in flight. "What is that?" I asked. Roman followed my finger. "A swallow. It originally belonged to Elena's sister." Evelyn? He nodded. They owned matching necklaces when they were younger. The next afternoon, Noah was already seated at the low table when I arrived, drawing with a red pencil. Roman stood near the window, silent. I sat beside Noah and waited. The picture showed a staircase in black, a red figure at the top, and a closed door beneath it. Around the figure's neck, Noah had drawn a small silver bird. My pulse slowed in the way it always did when scattered details suddenly began to form a pattern. I pointed near the figure without touching the page. Can you show me what you remember about this person? Noah tapped the necklace. Then the red clothing. Then the door. Roman stepped forward. Noah, who is it? The pencil snapped in Noah's hand. His shoulders rose. His eyes went distant. Roman, I said. He may know the answer, but that does not mean he can give it to you when you demand it. Roman looked at his son, then at the broken pencil. He moved back toward the wall. I am sorry, he said quietly. Noah did not respond, but his breathing slowed. I placed a green pencil beside his hand. We can draw something else. He turned the page and began sketching 3 small circles. One for himself. One for me. The third remained empty. Roman watched from across the room. Would you like someone else to join us? I asked. Noah looked at the empty circle, then at Roman. He nodded. Roman lowered himself to the rug. He did not ask what the red figure meant. He did not look at the previous page. He only took the yellow paper Noah offered and began folding. His first attempt became a crooked shape with one wing larger than the other. Noah corrected the fold without speaking. Roman followed his small hands. For the next 20 minutes, the man the entire city feared learned how to make a paper bird from his silent son. When the session ended, Noah placed Roman's crane between mine and his own. 3 birds. 3 places at a table that did not yet exist. In the hallway, Roman stopped me before I reached the stairs. You believe Evelyn is the person in the drawing? I believe Noah connects the red clothing and the swallow necklace with fear. Evelyn cared for him after Elena died. Caring for someone does not automatically make every memory of that person safe. His face closed. You are drawing a conclusion from a child's picture. No. I am listening to a child everyone else decided was saying nothing. Roman lowered his voice. You do not know my family. Neither do you, if you refuse to consider what your son is trying to tell you. The words settled between us. For a moment I saw the old Roman return, the man who could end a conversation with one look. Then footsteps sounded at the top of the stairs. Noah stood there holding the drawing against his chest. Evelyn appeared behind him in a deep red winter coat. A silver swallow rested at her throat. Noah saw the necklace. His face lost all color. Then he dropped the paper and ran straight into Roman's arms. Noah reached Roman before Evelyn could touch him. He buried his face against his father's chest, one fist gripping Roman's shirt, while the other pointed toward the silver swallow at Evelyn's throat. Roman looked down at his son, then slowly raised his eyes toward her. What happened? He asked. Evelyn removed her gloves with careful, elegant movements, as though a frightened child had not just crossed the hallway to escape her. He has been unsettled all week, she said. That is what happens when strangers force him to revisit memories he is not ready to understand. Her gaze settled on me. It was warm enough to appear polite and cold enough to carry a warning. I have not forced him to remember anything, I said. Then why is he suddenly afraid of the woman who has cared for him since his mother died? She stepped closer. Noah tightened his grip on Roman. That small movement answered more honestly than any adult in the hallway. Roman felt it. I saw the realization pass through him, but he did not confront Evelyn. Not yet. He lifted Noah into his arms and said, Grace, take the drawing to the library. Evelyn, wait in my office. For once, Evelyn did not immediately obey. Roman, surely you do not believe this woman understands your son better than his own family. Roman's voice dropped. My office. She held his gaze for a long moment, then turned away. The red coat. disappeared down the stairs, leaving the faint scent of winter perfume behind. Noah remained in Roman's arms until Evelyn was gone. Then he looked at me and whispered, "Door. You remember a door?" I said. He nodded. "Can you show us which one when you feel ready?" His lips trembled, but no sound followed. Roman started to ask another question, then stopped himself. He carried Noah back to his room and sat beside him on the rug. I stayed until the boy's breathing softened and his hands opened. Before I left, he pushed the drawing into my bag. I should have understood then that he was not simply giving me a picture. He was asking me to keep something safe. 2 days later, Daniel Brooks arrived at my clinic shortly before closing. He wore a dark overcoat and carried a leather folder beneath one arm. The waiting room was empty except for the hum of the vending machine and the soft rattle of sleet against the windows. "Mr. Hayes needs to speak with you," Daniel said. "He has my telephone number. He believes this should happen in person." Something in his tone made my stomach tighten. Roman was waiting in a private consultation room at the end of the hall. He stood beside the window, his face reflected in the dark glass. The leather folder lay open on the table. Inside were printed messages, financial records, and photographs of me speaking outside the clinic with a man I recognized as the father of one of my patients. "Who is he?" Roman asked. "His daughter has received speech therapy here for 6 months. Daniel placed a business card beside the photograph. The man also worked as an investigative reporter for a Boston newspaper. "I did not know his profession," I said. Roman tapped one of the printed messages. It appeared to show an electronic mail account using my name and promising private information about the Hayes family. My chest went cold. "I did not write this. The account was created through a network connected to your clinic," Daniel said. "Then someone used that connection. There are also records of payments," Roman said. "Not to any account I own." Roman looked exhausted rather than angry, which hurt more. I had trusted him to recognize truth when it stood in front of him. Instead, he had returned to the language he understood best. Documents. Surveillance. Proof gathered by people who had never sat on the floor with his child. "What exactly do you believe I sold?" I asked. "Information about Noah's condition. Details about Elena. Images of his drawings. You believe I would use your son that way?" His silence lasted 1 second too long. "That was enough. I trusted you when I knew nothing about you," I said. "I entered your house knowing what people whispered about your name. I sat beside your son when he could not speak. I protected every word he gave me. Now you are looking at paper created by someone else as though it knows me better than you do." Roman stepped toward me. "Grace, I am trying to establish what happened." "No. You are trying to make uncertainty disappear. You have done that your entire life by controlling the room, the people in it, and every possible outcome. Noah does not need more control. He needs someone willing to believe him before the evidence becomes convenient." Daniel glanced toward Roman, but neither man interrupted. "Until we verify this," Roman said carefully, "I cannot allow the sessions to continue." The sentence was quiet. Final. It landed like a door closing. I gathered the papers bearing my name and pushed them back across the table. "Then tell Noah yourself." Roman's expression changed. "I will explain. Do not tell him I abandoned him. Do not tell him he caused this. And do not let anyone turn his silence into guilt again." I returned to the estate that evening only to say goodbye. Noah sat on the staircase with 3 paper cranes lined beside him. 1 blue, 1 yellow, 1 white. Roman stood several feet away, unable to find words his son would believe. I knelt on the bottom step. "I have to go for a while," I said. Noah's face closed immediately. "You did nothing wrong. Listen to me. Your voice belongs to you. No one gets to take it away, and no one you love disappears because you tell the truth." His eyes filled, but he did not speak. I placed the white crane in his palm. "You are not alone." When I walked outside, snow had begun falling again. "Roman," followed me onto the front steps. "I will find out who created those records," he said. "That is not the part you need to understand." "Then tell me." I looked back through the glass. Noah remained on the staircase. "You chose suspicion because it felt safer than trust." I left before he could answer. At 3:17 the next morning, Roman called me. His voice was no longer controlled. "Noah is not in his room." By the time I reached the estate, every light was on. Staff searched the halls while security checked the grounds. I ignored the noise and looked at the 3 cranes on the staircase. The white one was gone. "The door?" I whispered. Roman stared at me. We hurried toward the east wing, which had been kept closed to staff since Elena's death but had never been physically locked. Roman had refused to let anyone disturb her rooms. At the end of the corridor, a red door stood open. Noah sat on the floor inside, clutching the white crane. One hand pointed toward a closet concealed behind a heavy curtain. Roman opened it. Behind Elena's dresses stood a locked metal box and a stack of medical records bearing my mother's name. Roman placed the metal box on Elena's desk while Noah sat beside me on the carpet, holding the white paper crane against his chest. The room smelled faintly of cedar, dust, and the lavender perfume Elena had once worn. Nothing had been moved in almost a year. A silk scarf still rested across the back of a chair. A book lay open beside the bed as though she might return and finish the final chapter. Roman found a small key taped beneath the bottom drawer of the desk. His hands paused before he used it. Inside the box were medical records, handwritten notes, photographs, and a digital recorder wrapped in a blue handkerchief. My mother's name appeared on nearly every page. Margaret Miller had documented Elena's fear, her plans to take Noah temporarily to Vermont, and her concern that someone inside the family was monitoring her. Elena had a heart condition that required immediate assistance if she became distressed. One note had been written less than a week before her death. "If anything happens to me, do not let Evelyn remove Noah from this house before Roman hears the truth." Roman read the sentence twice. The second time, his voice barely carried across the room. Noah watched his father with wide eyes. I felt his body become tense beside me, so I placed my hand on the carpet between us rather than touching him without permission. After a moment, his little finger moved against mine. Roman pressed the button on the recorder. Static filled the room, followed by Elena's voice. She sounded tired but clear. "Margaret, Evelyn found the Vermont papers. She knows I am taking Noah away for a few weeks. She says Roman will never allow it, but I am not afraid of Roman. I am afraid Evelyn will do anything to keep this family exactly as it is. If she confronts me again, I need you to make sure Roman receives the medical records and the security archive." The recording ended. Roman remained still. I had seen him command rooms without raising his voice. I had seen people wait for his smallest gesture. Now he stood in his wife's bedroom with the truth in his hands, and all of his power looked useless. Daniel entered several minutes later carrying preliminary security reports. He had begun tracing the false messages after I left the clinic. The electronic mail account had been created through a remote connection routed to the clinic network, but the original device was registered to Evelyn's private office. The financial documents had been altered. The reporter had been contacted by someone using my name, but he confirmed that I had never shared information with him. Roman looked at me. "I was wrong." The words came slowly, as though they belonged to a language he had never practiced. "Yes," I said. He accepted that without defense. "I should have trusted you. You should have trusted Noah." His gaze moved toward his son. Noah looked down at the crane. Roman crossed the room, then stopped several feet away. "May I sit with you?" he asked. Noah lifted his eyes. After a long moment, he nodded. Roman lowered himself to the carpet. He did not reach for Noah. He did not ask him to speak. He simply sat close enough to be present. Hurried footsteps sounded in the corridor. Evelyn appeared in the doorway wearing the same red winter coat Noah had drawn. Her silver swallow necklace caught the light. Behind her stood a housekeeper holding Noah's winter jacket and a small suitcase. Evelyn had apparently heard that Noah had entered Elena's rooms and had begun preparing to take him to the family's lake house before Roman could stop her. "There you are," Evelyn said, forcing a smile. "This house has become chaotic. Noah and I are leaving until everyone becomes reasonable." Noah moved behind me. Roman rose. "No one is leaving. You are emotional," Evelyn replied. "You are allowing a therapist and a frightened child to construct a story because grief has made you desperate." Daniel stepped into the doorway behind her. "The records connected to Grace originated from your office." Evelyn's face changed, but only for a second. "Then someone used my computer." Roman held up Elena's note. "She named you." Elena was confused. She recorded her concerns. The room became quiet enough to hear snow tapping against the windows. Evelyn looked at Noah. "You know I cared for you. You know I protected you after your mother was gone." Noah lowered his head. The red coat. The silver bird. The closed door. Every image he had given me stood in front of him at once. Evelyn stepped toward him. Roman moved between them. "Do not pressure him," he said. "I am his family. So am I." Roman turned toward Noah. For a moment I saw the old instinct in him, the need to demand an answer and end uncertainty. Then he knelt. His voice softened. "Noah, you do not have to say anything for me. You do not have to protect me. You do not have to protect anyone in this room." Noah watched him. Roman held out an open hand but did not move it closer. "Is there something you want me to know about that night?" It was the first time he had invited his son to speak instead of telling him what he needed to do. Noah's breathing became uneven. I began humming the lullaby under my breath. Not loudly enough to cover his voice. Only enough to remind him that he was not alone. His fingers closed around Roman's hand. "And Evelyn locked Mommy in the red room," he said. Every person in the room froze. Noah swallowed and continued. "Mommy told me to find Dad. And Evelyn said you were gone. Mommy got sick. Aunt Evelyn would not open the door. She told me I would disappear too if I talked." Roman closed his eyes. His hand trembled around Noah's. Evelyn shook her head. "He is confused. Grace put those words in his mind." Noah looked directly at her. His voice was small, but it did not break. "You wore the red coat." Daniel opened another folder recovered from the box. Inside were building access reports and an old security drive. The timestamps showed Evelyn entering Elena's wing that night, disabling the interior communication system, and delaying the emergency call. The records did not rely entirely on Noah's memory, but his drawings had led us to the evidence. Roman stood and instructed Daniel to contact the police, the family attorney, and Elena's former physician. Every record would be provided. There were no threats. No secret punishment. No use of the power that had once defined him. Evelyn was kept away from Noah until officers arrived and escorted her from the estate for questioning. When the front door closed, the mansion seemed to breathe for the first time. Roman returned to the floor beside Noah. "I should have listened," he said. Noah leaned against him slowly, as though testing whether his father would remain still enough to be trusted. Roman wrapped one arm around his son and looked at me over Noah's head. There was no command in his eyes now. Only regret. Noah remained quiet for several minutes. Then he lifted his face and asked the first complete question he had spoken in front of his father. "Where is Grace going?" Noah's question settled over the room more heavily than any accusation could have. Roman looked at me, but he did not answer for me. That was new. A few weeks earlier, he would have decided where I belonged, what I should do, and how long I should stay. Now he waited. Noah remained tucked against his father's side, one hand wrapped around Roman's fingers. I knelt in front of them. "I am going back to my clinic tonight," I said. Noah's face tightened. "But I am not disappearing." He searched my expression as though testing every word. "Tomorrow?" he whispered. "I will call tomorrow. Come here?" I glanced at Roman. He lowered his eyes, leaving the decision with me. Not tomorrow, I said. There are things your father and I need to repair first. Noah looked at Roman. Fix them. Roman released a breath that almost became a laugh, although there was too much grief inside it. I am going to try. I touched the edge of Noah's white paper crane. That is all anyone can promise tonight. I left the estate before sunrise. Snow covered the driveway in a clean white sheet, softening the iron gates and dark stone walls. The house looked less like a fortress from the outside, but I knew better than to confuse beauty with safety. Roman had protected his family by controlling everything around them. Doors, schedules, information, people. He had never understood that control could become another form of fear. 1 week passed before he came to my clinic. He arrived without Daniel, without security filling the waiting room, and without a black vehicle stopping directly at the entrance. He parked half a block away and walked through freezing rain in a plain charcoal coat. I watched him from behind the reception desk as he removed his gloves. He looked uncomfortable in the small room with its faded children's posters, plastic chairs, and vending machine that accepted only exact change. Good. Discomfort was often where change began. Is Noah all right? I asked. He asked for you 9 times yesterday. That is not what I asked? Roman nodded. He slept through the night. He ate breakfast at the table. He told me he hates oatmeal. Despite myself, I smiled. That sounds healthy. He also told me my paper birds are terrible. That sounds even healthier. Roman almost smiled back, then his expression became serious. The police and the district attorney have every record we recovered. Daniel delivered the security archive and gave a full statement. Evelyn is prohibited from contacting Noah while the investigation continues. And the false information about me? Corrected. The electronic records were preserved for the investigation, but every person who received the false allegations has been formally notified. Your clinic has written. Confirmation. He placed a folder on the desk but did not push it toward me. I did not come to prove that I fixed the paperwork. Then why did you come? He looked around the waiting room as though searching for the right language among the bright toys and crooked drawings. You helped my son find a place where he could use his voice, he said. And I used mine to send you away. I remained silent. Roman continued. I believed caution made me a good father. I believed that if I controlled every risk, nothing could take him from me. I was wrong. I made his world smaller until silence became the only place he felt safe. The words were not polished. That made them honest. I should have trusted you, he said. More importantly, I should have trusted him. An apology does not repair trust by itself. I know. Noah still needs consistent therapy. He needs choices. He needs a home where adults do not speak around him as though he is invisible. I know. And I will not return to a situation where I can be dismissed the moment truth becomes inconvenient. Roman met my eyes. Then set the terms. I gave him 4. I would retain full professional authority over Noah's treatment. Roman would attend family sessions whenever requested. Noah would receive truthful, age-appropriate explanations about what was happening. No one in the Hayes household would use money, influence, or surveillance to interfere with my work. Roman agreed before I finished. Do not agree because you are afraid I will leave, I said. Agree because Noah deserves these things even if I do leave. His silence lasted several seconds. I agree because he deserves them. Noah returned to the clinic the following week, after I had reviewed the situation with my supervisor and confirmed that continuing his care would be appropriate. He carried a small cardboard box. Roman followed several steps behind him. Noah placed the box on my desk and opened it. Inside were 3 paper cranes. 1 blue, 1 yellow, 1 white. Roman's crane was still crooked. Dad made another, Noah said. It is worse. I can hear you, Roman replied. Noah looked at him. Then, for the first time, he laughed. It was not loud. It did not need to be. Roman closed his eyes for half a second as though the sound had reached somewhere no one else had been allowed to touch. We began slowly. 2 individual sessions each week at the clinic. 1 family session every Friday at the estate. Roman learned to sit on the floor without checking his telephone. He learned not to fill every silence. Noah learned to say when he was afraid, when he was angry, and when he wanted to be alone. Some days he spoke freely. On other days he returned to drawing. We treated both as communication. By spring, the snow had melted from the Hayes garden. Crocuses appeared beside the stone path, small purple flowers pushing through ground that had looked lifeless for months. One Friday evening, I packed my bag after our session and found Noah waiting near the front door. Roman stood behind him. "Are you leaving?" Noah asked. "For tonight." He looked at his father, then back at me. "Do you have to?" "Yes." Noah reached for Roman's hand. His voice was clear when he said, "Do not let her leave." The old Roman might have stepped between me and the door. He might have offered money, security, or promises too large to trust. Instead, he knelt beside his son. "I cannot make her stay," he said. "People are not ours to keep." Noah frowned. "Then ask?" Roman looked up at me. There was no command in his face. Only hope, unguarded and human. "Would you stay for dinner?" he asked. Such a small question. Yet I knew what it had cost him to ask rather than decide. I set my bag down. "Dinner," I said. "That is all I am promising." Noah smiled and pulled us both toward the dining room, where 3 places had been set at the table. Months later, I would understand that Noah had not found his voice because I taught him how to speak. He found it because someone finally made room for the truth. Roman had once ruled his world by making everyone listen whenever he spoke. In the end, it was his silent son who taught him the harder lesson. Love did not begin with being heard. It began with learning how to listen.